This lecture I am discussing the compoundings in Hindi Urdu. So as we all know that the compounding means when we add the two lexical elements or the two free morphemes in one word. So it becomes the compound words and it gives the totally different meaning from the existing words that we add together. So in compounding we have discussed many things like Tatpurusha, like the Indic classification and the modern classification. So in modern classification, today I am going to discuss the case relation. So the case relation compounds is also called the Karak Samas. So in which the two elements has some syntactic relationship between them. So that syntactic relation define uh, the category and define the condition of the first element. So sometimes it reflect the meaning of instrumental, sometimes it reflect the meaning of accusative, and sometimes it reflect the meaning of genitive, dative, ablative and locative. So the case relation is the compound case relation compound is the compound in which the syntactic relationship between the element is preserved within the compound. So in these compound we have the two elements. So in every compound we have the two elements. So these elements works together as one word. So they describe some kind of case relationship, that is the syntactic relation. Means sometime it reflect the meaning of instrumental, sometime it reflect the meaning of accusative, sometime it reflect the meaning of genitive, dative, locative or ablative. So it is the meaning or it is the case reflect by the one element and the other element just define the grammatical category. So that implies the meaning on the one, and the first element reflect in that particular way, criteria or in that particular way. So it reflects some types of case. So in other words, we can say the meaning of compound is determined by the grammatical case implied between its part. So the meaning of those compounds determined in terms of grammatical case, and these case or these grammatical meaning determined by its parts. So we have different types of case relation compounds. So the first one is the accusative case. So in accusative case compound, so the first elements act as an object or the object of the action, and the action determined by the second element. So the compound describe what is acted upon or attained. So like the example of accusative case are Swarg Prapt and Dhan Labhi. So there are two elements, one is the Swarg and the other is Prapt. So Swarg determine the accusative case. So they attain the Swarg and the Prapt implied the meaning of accusation on the Swarg, which is the first element of this compound, in this compound. And the second example is Dhan Labhi. So Dhan Labhi is also the accusative case compound where the Dhan determine the accusation or the object of action, and the action came from the another word labhi. So dhan prapt karne wala. So this is the case relation compound, and that is the first type of compound, accusative case. And the second one is the instrumental case compound. So in instrumental case compound, the first element indicate the means, instrument or cause by which the state or action is in the second elements occur. So in it often shows the agency, causing of suffering or instrumentality. So in this case, in this instrumental case, the one element or the first element indicate or determine the category of instrument or some causing category, and this instrument and causing category was created or by determined or come from the action of the second element. So the second element describe the state and action. So like we have the example Agni Grast, and the other example are बाढ़ आहत, like बाढ़ से घायल, बाढ़ आहत. So the this बाढ़ refer the meaning of instrument, and this the meaning of instrument came from the ahat, means from what. So it is ahat by bard. So it is the instrumental case determined by these types of compound. And the third types of case compound or the case relation compound is the genitive case compound. So in genitive case compound, the first element shows possession, belonging, or relationship to the second element. So it shows the relationship between two elements, and this relationship in terms of possession, we can say. So we call it, this is the genitive case compound. So like Raj Mahal. So Raj Mahal means Raja ka Mahal. So there is a possession. There is a genitive case ka between those two elements, Raja ka Mahal. And we have Putra Priye, the fond of son, Putra ka Priye. So that is also, there is some possession, there is some relationship in terms of possession. Possession means ka, ke. So that is, and sometimes we have some belongingness and sometimes we have some relationship. So it also, so this is defined the genitive case. So that is the genitive case compound, like Raja, Raj Mahal, Raja ka Mahal, and Putra Priye, Putra ka Priye, और पुत्र के लिए स्नेह. So in dative case compound, the element or the first element of this compound, as you all know that the compounds actually made up of two elements. There are there are two lexical items. So by the two lexical item, we just add the two lexical item and create the compound words. So that is the dative case. A dative case compound means the first element or the first lexical item represent the meaning of beneficiary, meaning of recipient, meaning of goal, and the action or the quality expressed by the second element. So it answers the question of whom and for to whom or for whom. So like the example, राष्ट्र भक्ति, तो राष्ट्र के लिए भक्ति. गुरु श्रद्धा, गुरु के प्रति श्रद्धा. So that is means some recipient, the action determines the quality of recipient or the beneficiary or goal to the first element. So here uh, we have the two elements, Rast and Bhakti. So there is a Bhakti for Rast. So Rast is the first element, and we determine some beneficiary action or the some recipient action or some goal, and the Bhakti determine the quality or action. The same thing with the Guru Shraddha. So Guru is the determine the some recipient, some beneficiary from Shraddha. So Shraddha is the quality or action which express the quality and action. And the other types of case relation compound is the ablative case compound. So in ablative case compound, the first element indicate the source, origin or cause or the state of quality. It often explains from where and due to what. So like we can get the meaning of from where and due to what. So like the example Janmand. So in Janmand, Janam say Anda. So we can get the cause and source or the origin for the Andha. And the second is the Rajo Grast, means Raj se Grast, suffering from dust. So the dhul and mitti se prabhavit. So that gives the meaning of the cause. So in which we get the meaning for the first element in terms of indication, in terms of source, origin and cause. And these meaning derived by the second element. And the six other types of case relation compounds is the locative case compound. So in locative case compound, the in the locative case compound, the first element shows the location of place where the state and quality expressed by the second element. So in which there are the compound words of the locative case, so you can understand the meaning of location or place like Girast, Girahast. So Girahast means घर में रहने वाला, householder, और वन वासन, वन में रहने वाला. So there is a one element Girah, and ast means you get the some location, and one is the first element, and it gives the meaning of location or place by the vasan, रहने वाला. So that is called the locative case. So by the locative case, you can understand the meaning of location or the place by the compound words. So the case relation compounds encode the syntactic relationship internally, preserving the role of first element with respect to the second. So they used to make the relationship like the object for accusative case, and cause for the instrumental case, and position for the genitive case, recipient for the dative case, and the source for the ablative case, and the location for the locative case. So these are the relationship described by the two elements. So it is very common in literary, religious or formal Hindi English text. मैं घर में रहता हूँ. So in this sentence, the घर में describe the locative case. So it is actually the syntactic relation which define in one sentence of the different noun. So the noun describe different types of case in the sentences. But in the case relation compounds, the case relation described by the compounds means the by only the compound words. So like we have the word like grahast. So only the grahast determine the case relation of location or the locative case, but generally the locative case determined in a syntax in a sentence by one noun phrase in terms of whole sentence. So you can understand the meaning of locative case of this noun phrase or this noun ghar by in the whole sentence. But the case relation compound describe all these things like object. Normally the object like मैं बाजार गया. So here bazaar is the object. So it determines the accusative case. So this is the normally the quality of the syntax. So syntax determine the case relation of the different nouns in the according to their position and according to their function in the sentence. But in the case relation compounds, the whole case relation determined only by the two words. So one word determine the case and the other word determine the action or the quality, and by the quality of other element, the first element get this kind of case relation. So we have the two words like A plus B. So sometimes A occur as object, sometimes A occur as cause or instrument, sometimes A occur so the position with the B, sometimes A is the recipient from the B, sometimes A is the source and it describes this the relation with the source, and sometimes A show the location. So that is the syntactic features determined by the case relation compound only by the two elements. So one element determine the syntactic relationship internally, and the second element describe or define or qualify all those things. Now we come to the another types of case, another types of compounds, which is the metaphorical compounds in modern classification. So in modern classification, the metaphorical compounds means the one elements linked with another based on similarity in shape, color, quality, function or other characteristics. So these compounds do not just combine meaning literally, instead they create the figurative or symbolic meaning. So in metaphorical compounds, you can understand the concept by the word metaphor. So metaphor means there is no literary meaning, there is no direct meaning of something. It is the metaphorical meaning which determined by some context, which determined by the culture, which determined by the religion, means with social, religion, cultural context. So it is, they do not have the direct relationship between the form or the word and its meaning. So we have the example of compound, metaphorical compound is patthar dil. So the literal meaning of patthar dil is stone hearted. But the what is the actual meaning of this metaphorical compound means कठोर हृदय वाला, पत्थर जैसे दिल रखने वाला. So it gives the meaning of something which has the kathor dil, means some has the quality of some hardness, or we can say the feelingless. So the pathar dil describe the meaning of feelingless. So there is a feelingless person. So that is why these compounds considered as a metaphorical compound. So they do not have the literal meaning, but their meaning. So these types of compounds widely used in the literary text, in the poetry, in the religious text, and they convey the meaning in the vivid image or the aesthetic qualities. So we have many example of metaphorical compounds in Hindi Urdu. Like we have the word like Rajiv Lochan means the lotus eyed. So Kamal jaise netra wale. So it determine the quality of someone. So we can just use the Rajiv Lochan metaphorically for any person, for any uh, beautiful person. So we have like Meenakshi, मछली जैसे आँख वाले. So it is also used metaphorically for goddess at Madurai. And Chandravadini, so like moon faced. So it is used for beautiful woman. Mukharvin, it is used for the which is the lotus face, we use for deity. Kamal जैसे मुख वाला. So it represent some particular object. So it used by so it does not have any literal meaning. It has the poetic meaning. It has the religious, in the religious context or the cultural context, something that describes some beauty, some qualities, and they describe the beauty and quality in terms of metaphor, not the direct meaning. So in metaphor, we have one element serve as the standard of comparison, and the other element is the entity being compared, means the metaphor target or the metaphor source. So the meaning of the compound is figurative, often expressing beauty, virtue, or other quality. We have the Rajiv Lochan. So it is the so the first one is the Rajiv, which means the lotus, and it is described the standard of beauty. And the second thing is the Lochan, which means the eye, is the entity being compared. So we compare the lotus by the eye. So they give the meaning having eyed as a beautiful as lotus. So that is the comparing, and that is the core meaning of the metaphorical compounds. But this is used for any entity in poetry which has the beautiful eye. So we can say the Rajiv Lochan, lotus eye. And in terms of structural pattern, so there are two elements. So the metaphorical compound may be formed by two main ways. So one is the standard first, means first has the simile. Simile means some comparison. So like the source of comparison precede the entity being described. So and the second term is the entity first. So the entity being described comes first, followed by the standard of comparison. So when so for example in Rajiv Lochan, we describe the comparison by the Lochan for the Rajiv. So we have another example like Meenakshi, fish-eyed, Chandravadini, moon-faced. And there are another types of structure which show the target first. So to whom you are describing the entity which comes first, like the Charan Kamal. So the Charan is the main target of the compound, and we describe the Charan by the feature of Kamal. So and the other is Mukhar Bind. So the Mukhar is the main word, the entity, and it is followed by the standard of comparison. So the second thing is wind, so we can compare the wind by the mukhar. So the placement affect the stylistic or literary nuances, but the figurative means remains center. So it can be described in different terms, but the main idea behind it that so we use those metaphorical compound to describe the indirect meaning of something which we cannot cover directly. So that is the main concept of metaphorical compounds. And in terms of semantic characteristics, so it shows the imagery or symbolism. So symbolism means we can evoke or we can understand some images or ideas by those compounds. So there are some image of lotus, some image of moon, some image of a fish, or some image of a stone, some image of flower. So all these things represent the symbolic connection with the beauty, with some hardness, with some other hands, beauty for male, beauty for female. So all these things comes under the symbolism. So they just represent the concept of symbolism and imagery, and they are very culturally significant. And the second thing is that they have the figurative transfer. The meaning is figurative, it is not literal. Like Pathar Dil is used for the hardness or intensity. So we do not have any literal meaning, means word to word meaning, but we have some non-literal meaning which based on figures of speech like simile, metaphor and all these things. And there are some cultural significance also. So cultural significance means the meaning of those metaphorical compounds only can be understood by the pupil who lives in the same culture. So the metaphorical compounds of the another language like the English or French, you could not understand the meaning of those words. Why? Because you are not living in that country. So you are not aware of the culture of those metaphors because the metaphors actually influenced by our culture. So our culture just resemble the meaning with something. So for example, in our culture, for beauty we use moon, for you beauty we use lotus, for beauty we use some rose, some flower, but in other culture there might be some other metaphor for the beauty. So it is very culturally significant, and they have some aesthetic function. So aesthetic function means some poetic beauty, some visual imagery, and some emotional impact. So aesthetic function means something is related to poetry, something is related to arts. So how we can get some enjoyment while we are reading, or some connection, some emotional impact while we are reading all these things. So it has the metaphorical component, also has the aesthetic function. So in the literary and cultural role, we have already discussed. So it has some religious, in religious texts, we are also using those types of metaphorical compound, like Mukharbind for Lord Vishnu. Okay. And there is some vivid imagery also. Vivid imagery means when you listen some word in the poetry, so you just make and conceptualize the whole concept in your mind. So that is the vivid image. And the symbolism means so there are some cultural connotation in the language that we have already discussed. That like in our culture, lotus is a metaphor for purity, beauty, divinity. Moon for softness, serenity, and beauty. Fish eye for the grace, large expressive eye. Stone for hardness and the lack of emotion. So these are the cultural connotation involved for the metaphors. So they have some symbolic connection in the meaning. So the meaning of those terms are not literal. So lotus means some the kind of flower, but it gives us some cultural connotation. It gives us some metaphorical meaning of purity, beauty, and divinity. So it is called the literary and cultural role of metaphorical compound. And metaphorical compound in terms of morphological and syntactic behavior. So usually written as single lexical items. So that is it is not, there is no hyphen between them. So like Rajiv, Lochan, Chandravandani, and function as an adjective describing noun or epithets in the literary and religious context. So sometimes it functions as an adjective in terms of morphology and syntax, and often invariant, does not take the plural from when usually poetically and when used poetically, like Rajiv, Lochan, Devi. So it is invariant, it is non-inflected. It does not inflect. So it does not take it doesn't inflect for the plural marking. So and can also appear in the compound epithets like lotus, naveled. So that is the another characteristics of metaphorical compounds.